Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Riverdale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, I thought it was kind of interesting, like the whole conversation about villains. Every villain's got their origin story, even someone like Hiram, who's been the main terror of Riverdale for the past 10 years, but a lot of his history has been shrouded in shadows. Because it's actually interesting, because it even plays into, like, back in season 3, we got flashbacks to the younger crew, whether it be, it's Fred, Hermione, Alice, FP, and even Penelope, but we never really got much of Hiram. I think we got a little bit of Hiram, but I think that played into it more, that this episode really gave you that insight into his past, understanding who he is and why he became the way he did. And it's interesting because there's a parallel that they're drawing. I find it funny. It's not even his own daughter they're drawing the parallel to. They're drawing, or his other daughter, they're drawing the parallel to Reggie, because someone like Reggie, is attracted to the darkness that is Hiram, because someone like Reggie, who had his upbringing, I think it's a situation of considering everything that went on with his father like beating him and all of that, and I think a reason why Reggie is the way he is a lot of time, or has been over the course of the series, is because in some shape or form he's forged the way he is because of what his dad did to him. And so I think for him, it's like he spent so much of his life kind of being beat down by his father, like physically, literally, that I think he wanted to feel powerful for the first time, because I think for so much of his life he felt small, that I think he wanted to be bigger. He didn't want to be tied to his father and everything, even to the point now that he's an adult. It's like, right, I'm selling cards better than you, like I have, but it's like, no matter, like you're kind of losing your mind. You should be you're losing your step a little bit when it comes to selling cards. And he's like, you shouldn't have. He's like, what are you going to do, beat me? I'm not in high school anymore, basically. Like, I'm not a high schooler, man. I'm a grown man now. You try that and see what happens. And even now, even as an adult, like his father, like still falls back on that, like kind of like raising a hand to him and is like, you're going to beat me like you have your entire life. You want to look down on Hiram, saying he's a terrible person, but I've never heard anything of him ever laying a hand on his wife or his daughter. Like, can you say the same thing in any shape or form, laying a hand on me? Like, you can't, don't stand here on your moral high ground of like how much of a villain he is. At least he did something with his life. What are you doing, So it's actually interesting. But he tells the story, and the moment the story began with that guy offering his dad the palladium, I'm like, this whole thing in Riverdale, this is about your dad. Like, that you're continuing, like, from the very moment to begin, you're like, that's where this all started for you. Because the palladium's only something that's come up recently, but as we dive through the episode, we realize it's everything for him. Because his dad wasn't, he made money shining shoes and stuff like that, and he got the idea, like, to come to Riverdale, so he became a miner, but the mines collapsed, and with that, what his dad's only option, like, there was no palladium, they couldn't find any, and so they were stuck in Riverdale, and they stayed in Riverdale, but it's like those dreams he had of, like, hitting it big time, and he was stuck just shining shoes. But the sad thing is, especially for Hiram, it's like, I can get no respect because people are making fun of him, even trying to get with Hermione, like, it's like, yeah, my mom says, like, your dad shines shoes, and he's like, your mom fixes beds and cleans toilets at a whole, like, what's so different? And it's like, my mom just wants to do what's best for me, but at least, at the very least, I could say you're cute. And it's just like, of course he's going to have the complex he does. Like, the fact is, the reason why he is it's many attributes that led to him forging, like, it's many different things in his life. It's not just things with his dad and them being poor. It's just also, like, the way people look down on not just his dad, but him. And in his mind, it's like, right, I want to have a better reputation. I want to make money so I can take care of my family, for them to be able to get the things that they've never been able to get before. But somewhere along the way, he got lost. Like, he meets up with the dude Vito, and his dad was like, oh, stay away from that guy, he's a gangster. But the moment's like, oh, all you have to do is a few deliveries for me and you're making big money. You can get whatever you want. You never have to feel small. And so he felt good, he felt confident, and he was able to get the girl he wanted. He was finally able to be, like, proud of himself, because, like, oh, I'm just the son of a guy who cleans shoes. I'm a son of a nobody. And it's just like, he said all that stuff to his dad later on of like, oh, I'm ashamed. Like, the fact of the matter is, he got locked up because he was apparently delivering drugs for Vito, but he didn't snitch on Vito, and Vito respected that. And it's like, right, I'm going to have you do bigger jobs for me. Hell, at the same time, Reggie's asking for the same thing, being like, hey, like, I want to be a bigger part of the operation. Like, I got ideas. I can help you. Like, let me, do with the numbers and stuff. Like, I can help you. But he was like, Hiram present day was asking for a gun, like an unmarked gun that can't be traced back. And Reggie's like, I can do that for you. But, when he kind of called it quits with his dad, he's like, my dad isn't my dad anymore, which even Hiram's like, I understand that, because we see in his past, he did the same thing. His dad just saw the good in him. He's like, I see that you being this good kid, and I don't want you to go down this path of darkness, and that's the sad thing of like looking at where Hiram is now. And his father didn't see Hiram becoming who he became, but he feared that this is a road he was going down. He wanted his son to stay that, because it's like, right, yeah, this money and everything, it's fine, but you don't realize what it's going to cost you along the way, and what it cost Hiram was his soul. Like, who he was this nice boy, he was this caring boy, like, because the road to hell is paved with good intentions. He did all this because it was about family. I want to take care of my family. But along the way, it just became about, like, what I can be. It was no longer about my family. It was more about you not wanting anything to do with them. You wanted to make a name for yourself. You changed your name from Hyrie to Hiram Lodge because you wanted to not be tied down by your past anymore, specifically not your dad, because for you it's like he couldn't buy their mom a dishwasher, couldn't buy himself new shoes. It's like, you can't take care of this family, you can't even take care of yourself, you're an embarrassment. And all his dad did was walk away. And his dad ended up talking to Vito, and he's like, no, I'm not asking you to stay away from us, I'm telling you. It's like, if you don't, I'm gonna call the police. And he's like, okay, let me think about it. And Vito had him killed for it, because at the end of the, because he even said to himself, he's like, my boy, he's a good boy, like, and he's easily impressionable, especially by someone like you. And he just didn't want his son mixed up in all of this. He wanted his son on the right path, and like, given an opportunity, who's to say who Hiram would be right now? He'd probably be a good, honest person. He would have never done the terrible stuff he's done if it wasn't for like his ambitions got the best of him, and it consumed him, because he lost himself along the way. And it's so interesting too, because especially the whole story with Hermione, like why she fell for Hiram in the first place. I think the money gave him the confidence, and so she starts seeing him in a different light. But at the core of it, what she saw was a man who was willing to do anything for his family. But maybe it's also, there's a little bit of like, she was looking for an escape from her life too, because it's like, right, like her mom was her mom. So it's like, right, this is an opportunity to leave this life behind. Like, what is my legacy going to be? My legacy is going to be what my mom's life is. My mom wants the best for me. Yeah, she sacrificed so much for me. So Hermione never felt like I have any right to complain or fight back against it. And Hiram did, but it's like for better, and rather for worse, because of just what it cost him at the end. Cost him his soul, his humanity, who he was. So it was even this interesting moment, like Penelope was almost at the funeral being like, oh, like what did he expect working for who he did, which I think is so ironic, considering like those words came out of Penelope's mouth, considering all the major shady stuff that you've done as well. Like, it just, that's the irony behind it, like all the shady stuff that you and your husband were mixed up in, that it's like for that word, those statements to come out of her mouth. But like, of course, out of any character, she would be the one to say it. Watch even love, like, oh, like it's like everything he does is for his family. Like, what can either one of you skanks say the same thing? And they both just kind of walk away. I was like, yikes, just called them out like that. But it, like I said, it's those words coming from Penelope back then, like that was meant to drive home the irony behind that, like all that she's done. It's sad, like it's almost like because you look back at their story and like, because there's always been the complications with, it's not just Hiram, it takes two to tango, because Hermione's had her own part to play in everything too. Like, she stuck by him throughout everything, because I guess because at the heart of it, she believed no matter what terrible things he's done, he's got her and Veronica, like their best. What's the word I'm looking for? He wants what's best for them. Very much like he, it's interesting, like how that works, how he was trying to do that for his mom and dad, and now he's it's it's even more so reason to do it for Veronica and Hermione. He wants to protect what he had because of what he lost. It made him kind of double down, and that's why he's so ferocious. And yes, he can be cutthroat and mean, but the fact of the matter is, and he can be very possessive, but because it's like he loves what he has and he doesn't want to give it up. He wants to be able to be the person who has everything, the love, the power, being feared, the money, but it's like never having to worry about something in your life again, like being the one that's always in control. But the sad thing is, you can't have all of that without sacrificing something along the way. And to get to where you are, like the piece that was sacrificed was your dad. And even your mom, like I'm sure his relationship with his mom never was the same after he went there. The moment he was talking to Vito, because Vito was like, yeah, now without him around, you without your dad around, you can finally be the person you always wanted to be. In that moment, it was like, you're the one that killed my dad. Showed up, killed all of Vito's boys, but it's like, right, none of them are, Vito's not here, like, why is that? And it's because he left town, because he saw that look in Hiram's eye. He knew, like, oh, the kids figured me out, like, because he saw something special in Hiram, and he knew, like, right, if that kid ever gets the opportunity, he will kill me. It's like, it's so interesting that you never bothered to kill the kid. What you did was run away. But I guess that speaks of like the volume, like you saw that rage. You've always seen him being so capable, and now that capability is turned its like edge towards you. Maybe he did just happen to, well, maybe he did luck out and he just happened to not be in town that night, and then he heard his guys got popped, and then that made him extra like, I can never come back to this town. I think that's more so what Hiram was saying, is like, yeah, it's just lucky he just happened to not be there that night. But upon hearing his guys got popped, he never came back, because he knew that if he ever stepped foot in Riverdale again, that Hiram would kill him. It's so interesting, too, because we never did ever really get too much. But I guess that also, like I was about to say, like, we never got too many interactions between Hiram and the others. Like, the only thing we got was, like, Reggie's dad. And now we kind of understand why Reggie's dad kind of backed down when it came to Hiram. Because, because Hiram beat the ever-living mess out of him before, just for not calling him as his new name. Like, oh, like, wanting to call him by his name again, tie him to his past and who his dad is, the shoe shiner. So, but, like, we never get to see him really interact with, like, Fred or FP or Alice. But I think it plays into that, narratively speaking, that he kind of got so consumed with this power and position and everything that he isolated himself from them. Like, the only person he got close to was Hermione, which in turn ended up pulling Hermione away from everyone else. She was pretty tight-knit with everyone else, but then she became isolated and kind of became who she is, which I think she's taken steps to become, like, you know, maybe you can make the argument she's always been who she was. Maybe it's just like, but I feel like the darkness inside of Hiram kind of twisted and brought some of the darkness inside of her to the surface. I think he has that ability to bring out the darkness in anyone. Like, he brought it out in Archie. There's some darkness in Archie. I mean, everything in, like, Riverdale has a way of bringing out the darkness in everyone. And just the question is, how do you respond to that darkness? And just Hiram submerged himself in that darkness, consumed that darkness, and made it kind of his everything. And his family got swallowed up by it as well. He got swallowed up by it. So, but at the end of the day, Hiram ended up getting his revenge. He ended up, it took him all these years, but he finally tracked down Vito and ended up popping him. It's like, right, you know, you asked me before, like, you know, do I want to be, you know, love, like, do I want respect or do I want to be feared? And it's like, now answer me this, Vito. Are you scared of me? Blows the pillow over his head. I was like, are you going to make this? It's like, nah, I'm not going to make this easy for you. I thought you were going to make him suffer, but like, it's like, nah, I want you to be in pain. My dad was shot, so put a bullet in his head. And Hermosa seems like she's the one that finally tracked him down. It's interesting that he knows that. I mean, that she knows about that, but not Veronica. I find that fascinating. Because I'm curious, like, when in that time frame did the whole, like, thing with Hermosa happen? I mean, obviously, like, before Hermione and Veronica. Well, I mean, before, like, Veronica, obviously. Like, it's just interesting, like, how I just don't, that never got covered, because obviously this is just the main focus of, like, you know, Hiram's story in this capacity. But obviously there was the whole question about, like, right, like, Hiram became the man. He ran things, he took over Vito's spot and ran things in Riverdale. But the moment Veronica was born, Hermione was like, keep your promise, to, like, we'll leave and move to New York, and he did. But what brought him back to Riverdale after all these years was the Palladium. Like, my dad was right. He was just looking in the wrong place, and that's what the prison was about. It gave him a place to dig for the palladium without prying eyes, and he also got free labor from it by getting the workers to do it. I mean, because I was about to say, like, you don't, with a free owned prison, like, that's like, not free owned prison, but like a privately owned prison, you make money off of the people there. I don't know if like the government pay, because like technically any work prisoners do is paid by like taxpayers and stuff, right? I don't know if that's where their income comes from and stuff like that, because like people in jail, when they do work labor, they do get paid, so it's not like it's, but I don't think it's coming out of, even with a private prison, I don't know if that's coming out of Hiram's pocket or not. But whatever the case may be, it's like he came here to fulfill what his dad wanted. And it's like, yeah, but that vein got tapped and there's not much in it. But now because I was like what? Because I kept being like, why is he so cemented on destroying Riverdale? And I guess it's like, because at first I was like, is it because all that happened to him? And technically I was right. Not just over the course of the series, but it's like what this city did, like what it took from him, this town, what it took from him, what it made him into be. Like, I think like a lot of that resentment is kind of like him taking it out on town. He wants to just destroy it so he can be like, it is about power for him. By like destroying this town, it's like, I've amassed so much power from this town, like I'm going to be higher, I'm going to be more powerful than this town, I'm going to build something else and I can make even more money and be even more powerful. And that's like Hermione says later on in the TV, it's like nothing's ever good enough for him, he can never just be happy with what he has. And even like Veronica makes a remark about like, oh, he should have retired years ago, like, and they make a comment of like, oh, was he ever really sick? That whole thing. But what he's actually after is the Blossoms Grove, because that's where more of the like a large vein of the palladium is. So that's why he's trying to get that property. But like Cheryl is not going to give that up without a fight. So that's going to be a whole thing. Because I was about to say, like, could more of Riverdale be sitting on top of it? I mean, maybe that's another reason why I try to destroy Riverdale, is to get that palladium that might be in other places besides like the Blossom place. So having exacted his revenge and everything, and obviously opening up to Reggie about his plots, his evil plans, he lets Reggie go. And Reggie's like, no, I can, he's like, because Reggie had already paid off his father's debt and wanted to stay with them, but it's like, no, make up with your dad. Like, you might not, just give your dad one more chance. Whether you do like beyond what you do beyond that is up to you, but don't like take this opportunity to like take my offer, accept my offer of me letting you walk away. Because for him, he's like, I'd give anything right now just to be able to shine shoes with my dad for a few more years. Me making the choice I did, saying what I said, I never got a chance to apologize to my dad. I never got to make things right. And the only way he could make things right was by spilling more blood. And, you know, that wouldn't have made him proud. His dad wouldn't like who he became, but it's too late to go back. But he is still going to try. He's going to get the palladium. He's going to try and get Hermione and Veronica back. For him, it's like he thinks he can have everything. And the thing is, he can't. Maybe he'll be able to win them back in the long run. I don't know. But I don't think there's going to be a happy story for Hiram. I think what happened to Vito is going to happen to him. Somebody's going to put a bullet in him. I don't, you know, he's come close to death beforehand, but I think next time it's going to be, you know, it's like, it's an inevitability in that life. Also, it's still kind of crazy to look at, like, oh yeah, like, because I totally forgot they did set that up after the time skip that Hermione's like on a reality TV show. It's kind of like it's kind of like one of those housewives shows. I'm sure it's specifically like, because isn't it like a mafia, like, isn't it kind of like there's the show on Happy. Wasn't that that was Home Dude's sister, right? Blue's sister. Like, she was the one on a reality TV show, but I can't remember if this is just regular, like, because I think it's also like the new person she's dating, so it's kind of like I don't know if it's like the Real Housewives of New York, like literally, or whether it's something of that thing. Because I was about to say, I don't think it is mafia related, but it does kind of get thrown in her face about who Hiram was. You know, it's like, oh yeah, my ex-husband and all that he does, but Hiram I don't think he's going to get everything he wants. He's going to try, but still, it makes you a little sorry for Hiram, like I said, because it's not just one thing; it's a combination. Because that's the thing. I'm blanking on it right now. What it was, I've recently referenced where it's like that line of you can say like, what if I was watching The Beast Must Die, and that line of, oh, you can wish that this didn't happen or that don't happen. You can undo an entire life like that about, and that's the thing of like, no life is just one thing. It's your environment. It's a lot of factors that turn you into who you are, and a lot of things played a role into Hiram being who he is. Maybe you can make the argument that the darkness was always in him. Maybe coming to Riverdale awakened the darkness in him like it did anyone else. Like, anyone who comes to Riverdale, stays or lives in Riverdale, is doomed to be consumed by that darkness because it has a long and dark history. So, I don't know. But like I said, you feel a little bad for him, like how... like I said, just best of intentions, but best of intentions doesn't change all that he's done, who he forged himself into, and what the darkness he has in him, how he's leaked it onto others, and others have, suffered because of it. So it doesn't make him a scapegoat, but it does make... He doesn't get off easily, but you do see, like, you do kind of feel bad for him. You understand a little bit of, like, why he's done what he's done. Like, everything in Riverdale he's done, since back then, but, as well as, like, now. It's reliving, it's his father's dream of the Palladium and everything. Like, that's what my father started. I'm trying to finish it, even all these years later. Everything he's done in Riverdale over the course of this series alone, not even just counting all the stuff in the past, but specifically this series alone, when his family came to Riverdale, when he had his plans and machinations play out here in Riverdale over the course of this series, have all been for that goal. It's almost like, in his own way, he's going about it the most bloody and dark path, but he's trying to finish his father's legacy. Once again, his father wouldn't appreciate that, but... I'm curious if Veronica ever going to find out about that story. Maybe Reggie will end up being the one that tells her that, because Hermione knows. I don't know if she knows that the Palladium is what he's after, if that's like his main motive. I don't know if she knows that that's the driving force. I know Veronica definitely doesn't know, but it seems like Hermosa definitely knows, it seems like. But yeah. Just a very interesting episode, kind of give you a lot of very interesting insight into a man that, when you actually think about it, it's like, right, he's the one character you've never really dived too deeply into his past. I mean, there's still others, like, I feel like, to a certain extent, there's still, like, a little bit about Hermione, but I guess it's, like, the point is, like, she has a regular family. So did Hiram, but extenuating circumstances built him into the man that he is. It's just a lot of interesting things in that regard. But also, like, even the Reggie thing, him finally walking away and his dad, apologizing. It's like, I've never done right by you, but maybe we can do this, run this together. And he's like, it's okay, Dad. And it's like, will things work out? Maybe his dad will screw up again, and what will Reggie do then? Will he finally just say screw it and bounce? Or will he still try to, like, find someone else to fill that void like he did with Hiram? Hopefully things can work out, I don't know. I'm very interested to ultimately see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's what I want to talk about. Till next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.